Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II, World at War, with our first ever PvP against SirTravis. In the last episode, we moved into July 3rd, 1942. No 4th of July for America, not yet. And he pushed what is probably his most successful offensive yet into Finland, getting our unit here, the Suomi Corps, to retreat. Not killing it successfully though, but pushing those paratroopers he had over in Joensuu forward, probably leaving Joensuu undefended, funny enough, at this point. Not that we really have the mobility to take advantage of that. However, looking at these potential damage numbers, he's left himself very, very open to counterattack, and that is something I plan to take full advantage of this turn. Additionally, we've spotted some interesting things. He has a motor torpedo boat coming from America down to Hawaii. Potentially, this means he knows we have subs here, or it means he's going to check if we have subs here. Because we can see, thanks to the aircraft carriers being home, his own subs setting up traps outside of our harbor. So either his intelligence has spotted these subs for him, or he's just assuming I'm going to do that because he's also doing that. Potentially. Additionally, he started a counterattack from India into here. I asked him why he gave up Burma just to counterattack immediately. And as it would seem, he thinks that I only have one singular unit in all of Burma. So he wants to reclaim it from that one unit. I don't know why he thinks that. I did tell him I was surprised it was undefended and that I sent a scout to take Rangoon. I don't know if he realizes that that scout is an army and that I was already progressing in through Lashio anyway. He should know that I have at least two, right? At least 2 units. But I have 3 with an HQ and another army on the way, and I would be silly to not exploit things over here further. I am really just quite amazed that Ethiopia has survived this long, but you know, here it is. It's survived. This is the only unit that I really can't do a lot about, but it's okay, because it's a colony garrison anyway. We ended up retaining all money-making locations in Ethiopia, so even with the things that we did lose, it was only things of generally no consequence. Now, we have a lot to do this turn. A lot is going to be going on here. He's kind of reinforced around Stalingrad. He's putting on his last effort defense. He's not moving any of this massive offensive force he has up here to go reinforce Moscow, meaning we could potentially take it this turn. And so I'm going to start by just reinforcing the Luftwaffe 4th fighters here. I don't want them to be involved in any of these bombings or anything. And we are set up to do some bombings. Now, however, he does have the 2nd anti-air right next to the Moscow hex proper. And I would need to use one of the armies that is best suited for attacking Moscow to actually get rid of this. The tanks themselves, at least, you know, these ones here, they're not as strong. They're not going to be as good attacking across this river as something like an experienced army would be, as it would seem. I'm going to say, though, that taking this anti-air out is going to be #1 priority. It's, I think, more important to set up the bombers than it is to rush Moscow. So let's go ahead and attack with the 10th Army. Prepared attack, only dealing 4 damage. We expected more than 4 damage, so that is a bit of a disappointment. We will go ahead and follow up with the Afrika Korps tanks, who can also do 2 prepared attacks. 4 damage dealt, we expected 3. We didn't expect to take any damage, so that sucks. But we're going to finish it off here with the Afrika Korps tanks. There you go. And now we have the ability to push forward, but very limited units that can actually make it over there. Probably the 5th Panzer tanks are going to be the best candidates for actually pushing up that far. It's either that or this corps, realistically. But now Moscow is open to being bombed. And their anti-air capabilities are pretty beefy, to be honest. We'll move the tanks forward because they stand the best chance of accomplishing something back here. We see the enemy HQ and we can see kind of the situation in the surrounding region as well. We'll need to get this tank repaired at this point. Dang, you know, now that we can see this tank, we can see that bombing that would also be very, very useful. But I think I'll start with Moscow. I'll start with bombing that. It is the source of like all of his supply over here after all. So we'll send one tactical bomber over there, try to break their entrenchment. We did take some damage to our bombers, which is unfortunate. But now everything's improving. Its readiness and morale of this unit has been shot quite a bit. I really would love to bomb this tank. It's so easy to say that we could bomb this and do some big damage. But I'll spare one more bomber. None of these ones can't reach over there, just barely. I'll spare one more bomber for Moscow at least. No damage dealt, but readiness and morale has pretty much halved again, and now the odds are 0 to 5, which is vastly improved. We will go ahead and attack then with the third army, dealing the 5 damage we were hoping for. No damage taken that we weren't expecting anyway. I'm going to, let's see here. We, again, want to get these things set up to kind of recover, though. Supply over here is not going to really be in our favor for right now, as things stand. I would love, it's going to take more than one turn to get stuff moving forward here. I'll just move the 10th Army back to here. We'll move the Africa Corps to, well, we'll give that a second, actually. We'll give that a brief little second here. I'll move the 4th Army forward as far as it can go, and we'll do a blitz attack right here. Wiping out the enemy army defending Moscow, no further damage taken, and his zone of control is weak enough that we can move in. I will now go ahead and I will bomb the enemy 1st Guards heavy tanks. 3 damage dealt from the air, no damage taken, which vastly improves our odds in this instance. We'll move the 14th Army forward to step on and take Moscow, cutting his supply line at this point and probably improving our supply in the region. Well, maybe not immediately, but it will reflect. We only have 4 supply here right now, but again, it will reflect. Now, these bombers are kind of spent. We do have 2 armies on the front, as well as this tank that is capable of doing some big damage either to the Polish Rebel Corps here or the 1st Guards heavy tank. It is hard to choose, right? But we are cleaning him up here. We are, this is a Vladivostok Corps. Does that mean there's nothing on Vladivostok right now at all? Man, I gotta free up some shit to go over there at this point, just to help speed that along. We're almost to that point. We're almost there. I just don't want to start something and be unprepared for it, because as we've seen, he does have the MPPs to pull an offensive if he wants to. You know, I've been meaning to look at this, actually. Let's look at the reports, the graphs of MPPs. What is America producing? Collecting income every turn. At their max, they were collecting about 600. It's gone down, potentially because he's sending all these MPPs to the UK. It's probably what it is. And so he's down to 500 per turn as America right now. The Soviets are collecting something like nearly 800, probably due to the fact that they're getting it from, I imagine, convoys. Yeah, 210 from convoys, probably from the UK. And then you can see the UK's convoy income's going up. He's pouring all these MPPs. Just take it into consideration. He's pouring like more MPPs into Lend-Lease and with the USSR in general than I make MPPs between all of my majors. This is how you know we're essentially on a time limit. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to follow up over here. Again, we do have these other bombers. Let's start by moving the 2nd Hungarian Army forward towards Stalingrad. We see a very weak French Volunteer Corps here. That's good. I was wondering if he had any weak spots, and we just found one. Just a blitz attack by itself with no air support would be enough over. Oh, however, yeah, we don't even want to use air support here because he has anti-air placed. I think he's really gone ahead and recruited a lot of these. I think he really did a lot of like researching in my early China game as the allies. Well, let's go ahead and attack with the 2nd Hungarian Army, dealing 5 damage. Finally, like a really good roll there. That's awesome. Okay. This might be a bit of a gamble, but I'm going to move the 1st Hungarian Corps forward up towards Stalingrad to take a peek at what else he has around here. He's got a lot of stuff stacked up over here. Holy shit, that's a lot. Okay. God damn. Well, we know we're going to need to move closer over here, whether it's onto Salsk or somewhere else, I'm not sure. On a good turn, we could make it all the way up here if we needed to. I'll definitely move on to Salsk at least. Rostov all these partisans are taken care of already. We're gonna need something on my cop soon as well. I think we did get a bunch of German garrisons. We did. It's gonna have to be a German garrison. We'll move the Romanian HQ forward onto Krasnodar. Examine the supply situation now as of next turn. It's not gonna be terrible or anything. The Sevastopol Corps over in Grozny is kind of protected from the limited nature of my approach, but there is an army here that could reach there. I just need to be able to like attack and then move away and then set up another attack. This is a pretty simple thing to do, so let's go ahead and do that. 3 damage dealt, none taken, basically as expected. I am afraid to like look around and really see what there is to see here. Let's try it. Let's move the 5th Corps down south, take a peek, and we see Tbilisi is completely empty. He did not put a lot of emphasis on defending the Caucasus and all of his oil. I really thought he would, but he focused Stalingrad, Moscow, and then an offensive over in Finland. This is a really weird strategy. I wonder why. Why? Maybe he just lost too many units over here. Maybe all the units that were to defend here were just lost over here. And then he just decided to focus Stalingrad instead of the Caucasus anyway. Well, regardless, we can get 5 damage with the 1st Romanian army, and we'll go for it. We got 6, but we did take some damage as well. My rolls are terrible this turn. I learned, by the way, the reason that this corps didn't die was because of a bad roll on his part. He was supposed to kill this, but he got a bad roll. I'm getting a ton of bad rolls this turn as well. Now it's time for this cavalry to finally come in handy. We'll send the 2nd Cavalry Division forward, and there you go. Wiping out that enemy, but also taking some damage that I did not expect to take. Using the next Cavalry Division here is an easy choice to securing Grozny, which at full supply was producing 5 MPPs, so it's even more MPPs. Got the oil, we're moving forward. I wonder if he has anything at Baku at all. The Romanians, I guess, are just going to be super, like, heading up this front at this point with the way things are going. I'm not quite sure where to place this fighter quite yet. We do want to move it up. It's a little far behind. Moving up to Rostov at least is probably a good idea. We can't really defend over here, but maybe we don't need to right now. The Romanians might be able to, at this point, with this cavalry assistance, single-handedly secure the Caucasus and begin the push into Iran. And then from there, we ideally don't want to attack into India from this angle. Not yet, anyway. We'd want to just go straight through this way and set up an ability for some German Air Force to operate down and secure this from this much narrower side. I mean, he's got his back to it. It would be probably easier to just air power force my way through here than it would be to come the other way around at this point. But that's a different front that we'll look at in a little bit. Oh, this is another army. You know, I thought this was a corps for some reason when I was looking at it. Supply doesn't look like it'll be too great on the front, but we'll move this army forward for right now. Just get up there. Try to, you know, cause some pressure. Squeeze him. Make him feel the pressure. We don't have many good options for bombing here, honestly. These guys don't have the range to bomb anyone other than the 1st Guards army here. So that's unfortunate. And then nobody can even bomb this without taking some amount of damage. And taking plane damage instead of tank damage, that doesn't seem very fun, because if I look at tactical bombers, they're worth 300 a pop. A tank is only worth 250. Even if it is an elite reinforcement, I don't want to take plane damage. Planes are very important to keep in tip-top shape. So in this case, I think I'll take the prepared attack with the blue tanks. We dealt only 4 damage and we took 2. God, these rolls are fucking awful, man. What is this? Jesus Christ. But now I can bomb. Now I can bomb with realistically any of them. I will try with one of these, the SG-4 tactical bombers. He has interceptors down here, so my own interceptors, my escorts, are gonna have to fly. 4 damage to his fighters, 3 damage to his land target there, and no damage to any of my units. That's perfect to finish off this enemy 1st Guards army with my tank, which took 2 damage instead of the 1 that I was hoping it would end up taking. But hey, here we are. Now we're in a situation where the line breaker tanks could move up or I could send infantry in its place, but I have to pick one. The Africa tactical bombers now cannot reach anything down there, so they're going to do some bombing up here, and we'll try to have them weaken the 7th Army, make it easier to attack. Let's go ahead and do a bombing right there, dealing 1 damage that we weren't expecting. Finally, a good roll. Entrenchments down to 0, and readiness and morale are doing a lot worse than they were. And now I have to make some choices. I think this army is more important to kill than a gunsmith corps. We'll go ahead and do a prepared attack with the 8th Army, dealing 7 damage. Nice, that's a good roll. And if I want to kill it, though, I'm gonna need to... Oh, man. I'm gonna need to potentially take some damage here to actually kill it. Which, I mean, I don't necessarily want to do that. Regardless, he's not going to be escaping over here, so, I mean, fuck it. We'll go for the most vital blows I think I can go for, like weakening his heaviest hitters. The cores don't matter as much, so we'll go on the offensive against the 1st Guard's heavy tanks. Dealt 5 damage as we expected, and hey, we got lucky and took none. Let's then push an offensive over here against this enemy core, dealing some damage. There you go. There's some good rolls. Finally, man. Finally, we'll go on a blitz offensive against this enemy core, dealing 3 damage. Just kind of weakening everything, which is not usually how I like to do it. I don't like to just soften things up one by one like this, but the Africa Corps can go on the offensive against the enemy 8th Corps here, is it? Yeah, the enemy 8th Corps. God, this is a big name. I'm not reading that. This corps here could go into finishing off that enemy there or something. It's gonna probably take some sort of losses no matter what. I don't know if the losses are worth it. It is just a corps, so it could be worth it, especially in preventing him from reinforcing up pretty high and then that causing some kind of problem. I guess so. I guess it is worth it, huh? All right, well, fine. We'll go ahead and we'll finish that off. 2 damage dealt, 1 damage received. Pretty much just as I expected here. We do have a partisan point at Tula that we'll have to worry about. I think I have enough for everything here that I will need, maybe. There are a lot of places that are going to need a garrison here very shortly. I think I'll also move the 6th Corps here forward. We'll take a blitz attack against the enemy corps. 2 damage dealt. None received, as expected. Supply is going to be a little strained over here, but it will be improving. It will be improving. And in fact, I mean, I feel like we're getting to the point where we can just move up from Smolensk. This is always going to boost to 8 pretty much no matter what. So moving von Manstein forward and then von Rundstedt forward a little bit may be worth it. It may be worth it. I mean, we could do it. The weather might not favor this sort of thing next turn, so let's say fuck it and move up. And how does that affect supply? It's gotten even better. Nice. All right. This tank still hasn't moved yet either, so we could move it up even further. I'd love to move it back to somewhere where it can reinforce, though, rather than try to push it even further. So we'll just do that. We'll just move it back where it'll be able to do some reinforcing according to the statistics that we see here. And then we'll see, you know, I'm really not sure. I could probably just move the anti-tank over there, but let me see. Yeah, I'll have to move the anti-tank over there. Is there anything at Reserve to care about, really? No, there's not. Then we'll move the Africa anti-tank forward to right here, take care of that partisan point for us. We do have a new partisan point to worry about over at My Cop, and that is an oil field. We definitely want to defend that oil field. Let's just move this corps forward first real quick. I want to see what we get. Some potentially good blitz attacks here. Potentially good. Let's start with that front line enemy. The Tula Gunsmith's Corps. We dealt 1 damage. Took no damage. That worked out pretty much as predicted. That does open up a point where we need a garrison, however. And I think the 8th garrison is a decent enough selection for that. Let's send that over to Tula. We don't have an insane amount of garrisons lying around. These anti-tanks are really going to come in handy as potential garrisons in the future, because they're not even excessively useful as anti-tanks, like for their actual job, because they're never really going to be in the front. I kill tanks with planes. Tanks are very vulnerable to planes. And he's running out of tanks as is, meaning these are even more useless for their original purpose than they otherwise would have been. So I think just operating some of these forward now may not be the worst idea. I'll probably reinforce this core right here because it can. Because it can reinforce. Yeah, I think I'll start distributing some anti-tanks as garrisons. The price we paid for this was pretty cheap anyway. To operate one of these forward to right here along this road, because it can take care of this stuff around Moscow for us. Let's operate this one right here to right about here. It can go ahead and take care of Ryazan for us. There you go. And then let's operate the third anti-tank all the way down towards, not two, we can't get all the way there, but towards Mykop. It can take care of Mykop for us. These anti-tank, they're essentially just going to be glorified garrison units. I only have level 1 anti-tank. Good enough to be useful if they need to be useful, but otherwise, they're going to be glorified just garrisons, basically. Let's not forget our rocketing right here that we can do. Never want to forget the rocketing. I feel like I've probably forgotten one turn of it by now. I feel like the odds that I haven't forgotten a turn of rocketing is very low. But anything to drain at least a couple of MPPs from him, especially at no cost to ourselves. There is still some fun times over here that we have to figure out. Like, well, alright, first off, is there research to do? No, there is no research to do, which gives me some leeway with our MPPs right now. The Linebreaker tanks are in an interesting situation where, man, they could have 2 elite reinforcements on them if I wanted those 2 elite reinforcements. But I'm just kind of like in a hurry, you know? I'm in a hurry to get results, and that's kind of staying my hand a little bit from what could be happening. I'm going to go recon with the Africa Reconnaissance forward, and we can see an enemy anti-tank here by Kazan right here. We can see that enemy core on Kubyshev as well. Gives me a good sight of what's over here. I was hoping to maybe squeeze by, maybe, and then cut off his rail line, but I don't think that's really going to be happening. Thinking about it, I feel like I've already been aggressive enough. I've taken enough risks. Let's just get elite reinforcements on the Linebreaker tanks. They deserve the recovery time. And we can go ahead and just move the first army forward. Instead, we see the Cossack Farmer Corps here, and a lot of other enemies. He's sure to go on the offensive, just as a given. He's sure to go on the offensive. Our supply over here is doing pretty nice, honestly. It's pretty not bad. The river serves to defend anybody that is being attacked past it, even if we are just in fields. So I am somewhat positive about how this could go, but we do need to make at least a little bit of a show of force here. The tanks do have the capability of reinforcing even if we move them forward, but they can only get so far forward. Move this core forward, definitely, and I want to leave this somewhere where it can reinforce. He has to see them as well. He has to fear them for being there. But additionally, his ability to strike westwards is limited. We do have some ability to do some bombing here. Like, I forgot about this bomber, actually. Well, it might as well try a bombing. 1 damage dealt. None taken. Now we actually have the opportunity to do like a blitz attack. 5 damage dealt. None taken. And now he's on this side of the river. Oh, good God. What has happened? Maybe I shouldn't have used elite reinforcements here. This is getting a little crazy, is what this is getting. Okay, well, that can be handled. I still have enough units to use to solve this weird situation. If only I still had the ability to move forward a touch more, that would be pretty great as well. This is where having those tanks not elite reinforcing would have been a great thing to have. Absolutely a fantastic thing to have, but we do not have that thing. So I guess this core is going to be this and this. But they're going to be our main contenders here. I guess moving up towards Stalingrad isn't so bad. He's got enemies from all directions at this point. It doesn't really matter. We'll just go ahead and attack with this core, dealing 1 damage. Unfortunately, also taking 1, which is not something that I necessarily would have expected. He's got level 2 infantry weapons on this unit, which is, I guess, no surprise. It's as good as it is then. I was gonna send this one down further, but I guess we can come over here and just try to just hurt him. Knock him back. Yeah, he just ran away. He just ran away. So we'll move up there, forming a more unified front. We're still all in supply, so it works out. We don't have the defense of Morozovsk from here, and I might want to move back and kind of get that defense again so that this unit can recover. I don't think this unit will be vital in any attack anyway, so we'll move that back. That was a bit of weirdness, and we're gonna move this corps forward around here on the road where we could either send him down south or maybe claim Uralsk. It's worth some MPPs, and it's on the way. It's on a way. Trying to look for openings in his line is one of like the main things that I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to find. I wouldn't put it past him to go on the offensive with this anti-tank because the recon is technically light armor. So we'll move back to Penza and just keep an eye out. This isn't really worth much of anything anyway, so such a maybe redundant movement really won't be the worst possible result. Look at this, man. Look at all this. It's really hard to know where to have my planes right now. It is really tough, honestly. These supply values are all over the place. And a lot of these can't really move very far to begin with. I'll move this tactical bomber over there. I'll move this one up the road, though that one could use some reinforcements, quite frankly. This fighter being here, it almost seems like a waste at this point. We'll move it, I guess, as far as it can get. I don't know. Do we even need 3 fighters here? I mean, 1 fighter per 3 bombers, I think, is enough based on how this is going. He doesn't have a lot of air power over here himself. Most of his air power is like over here. Speaking of, let's reinforce this Finnish fighter corps, and I'll figure out that headache in a bit. Additionally, I moved some subs. All these ones over here moved south because they're all at 5 supply. I need to get them some supply. Took one of the subs from down here. I moved it over here, the Trapper sub. The Trapper sub, that's right. And it's going to just get some supply real quick and then beeline it up this way. He's very quiet, so I don't know what his presence is like over here. But I'm still assuming there's got to be something blockading over here, right? So let's try taking this medium bomber back here, and it's going to be here or here, I assume. If it's in a grid, let's try there. Oh, okay, we got something. 6 damage dealt to an enemy destroyer. I don't see anything else around it, so it's a very thin thing. I never moved this sub out. I got too scared to move it out without doing any bombing first, because I don't want to run into any of his traps. Well, we could definitely wipe out a Canadian destroyer, and no air coverage was really needed, because just none was needed. Well, he did deal some damage to that elite reinforcement there. It's a shame, but we wiped out an entire fucking destroyer. So now I think we could come just right back down here, theoretically, with no issue. And we know that we've wiped out something that was right here. So theoretically, we could squeeze out. That's really good supply, too. Yeah, let's definitely try to just, like, squeeze out of here. All right, well, we have successfully squeezed. And we have so much supply, that can definitely help reinforce that northern side as well, or even up towards UK, USSR. If I had bombers over here, that'd be pretty good as well. We have to be careful about his air coverage, however. That was pretty successful, though. And the Africa fighter, well, let's start moving it west. I have an idea for it. It's not going to be needed over here anymore with my idea. It's not a we need it ultra soon idea, though, so we can stand to move slowly by just, you know, flying. I'm going to send it up over here into Denmark, and along with it will be a maritime bomber that I'm going to purchase, and will pay for all the upgrades right now. I meant to do this a long time ago. 6-turn delay on it, which sucks, but it can help provide some coverage over in this region that I think will be very valuable, especially for defending our fleet if he ever tries any kind of shenanigans, or if we try any kind of shenanigans as well. However, we are out of time for this episode, so I'm gonna have to call it here. We'll pick up on the next one. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.